So we're going to weigh out 0.1 grams approximately of potassium permanganate. At 0.11. I'll record that in my table. Then we're going to add a small amount of distilled water. And we're going to swirl and swirl and swirl until that's completely dissolved. Then we're going to take our flask and our filter funnel, add the potassium permanganate to the flask, using the wash bottle to wash down the sides of the beaker to make sure that every single part if the wash bottle's leaking, it doesn't matter too much, it's just water going all over the bench. Every single part of the crystals must be washed into the flask until the beaker is completely clear. Every part of the funnel's rinsed down as well. Just have a quick wipe up of that. Okay. Then what we're going to do is add water to mostly fill the round part of the volumetric flask. When it's mostly full, we pop on the stopper, make sure the stopper fits snugly, and go and invert that 5 or 6 times. To make sure that potassium permanganate is fully dissolved. Do you have another one? And then we're going to top up the flask to the line. So we keep pouring in water until we're just under the line. We can use our wash bottle to add water just dropwise until the meniscus is sitting precisely on the line. On the flask here, the line is just here, and if you look closely with your eye you can see the meniscus is just on top of the line. Invert that 5 or 6 times. And that's our first solution made to a final volume of 250 mils. Then we're going to take 25 mils of that solution and make it up to 250 mils in the next flask. As we know, the next flask has been cleaned. There's a little bit wet on the inside, but since we're adding a concentrated solution to it, and it's going to have water in it as well, it doesn't matter that there's a little wet with the deionized water. So now we're going to use our pipette for the first time. A pipette, like the volumetric flasks, I'll just show you the line on the volumetric flask. If you can see it, the line is just here. You can see that the line, if you look from the side, lines up like that to line up where the solution top is. On the pipette, the same, the line is here. If you look carefully, you can see you've got a little brown line. It's just there, not quite in focus. But a little brown line there. You bring it up till the meniscus just sits on top of that line, and that's when it's full. I'm just going to get a waste beaker. So the first thing we're going to do is, the pipette has been rinsed with water. Now we're going to rinse it with the concentrated solution. I'm going to use a safety pipette filler. First of all, we press button A to take the air out of the pipette. Place it just gently just on the top there, not too much pressure. Pop it in the solution and press B to lift up the liquid till it's about 1/3 of the way in. Pop your finger over the top. Then we're going to just wash around the inside of the pipette and let that run into a beaker of waste. Now that pipette no longer has any distilled water in it, it's only got the concentrated liquid. We can tap the tip of the pipette on the edge of the beaker to get the last couple of drops out. Okay, this time we're going to take up, we're going to try and fill it up to the full 25 ml. So keep squeezing until the meniscus goes all the way above the top. Quickly pop off the burette, hold it up to eye level, allow it to run down till the meniscus just sits on the brown line. Then take that over to flask number 2 and allow those 25 ml to run in to flask number 2. Flask number 1 goes to the side for now. That liquid goes into flask number 2. We allow it to run down the side of the flask. Touching the tip of the pipette onto the wall of the glass so the surface tension can pull out the last tiny drops. Pop the pipette to one side. Now we're going to fill up the flask. So it's around 3/4 full. Pop the lid on, invert that 5 or 6 times. Go down to eye level and top up the flask. Until it reaches the line, till the meniscus is just sitting on top of the line. Pop the lid on the flask. Invert it 4 or 5 times. And that's completely mixed. So now we have 2 solutions, solution 1 and solution 2. And we can begin to see a colour differences there. Solution 1's to sit to one side. We're now going to repeat the process, taking 25 ml of solution 2 to make up what is going to become solution 3. Once again, we need to rinse out the pipette. I'm going to rinse the pipette through with some distilled water first to get rid of the concentrated solution. Since we're working from more concentrated to less concentrated, we need to rinse with water each time. Then we're going to rinse with the solution again and suck up the solution till it's about 1/3 full. Rinse through the pipette, pop it in the waste. Touching the tip of the pipette to the side of the beaker again to ensure that as much of the liquid is removed as possible. This time we're going to go up above 25. Hope you can see that okay. Take the bulb off, put the tip of the pipette on the side of the flask, hold it vertically with just the tip of your finger over the top until the meniscus is down to the line. Precisely in the right place. Transfer it to the next clean dry flask. If we're diluting 25 mils up to 250 mils each time, what's the dilution factor, do you suppose? That's all clean for next time. Fill up the flask till it's almost 3/4 full. Stopper in place. Take the wash bottle, find the line on the flask, some of the lines are clearer than others. Make sure we get rid of all the bubbles. Bring it up till the meniscus just sits on the line. Okay. So far we have solution 1, solution 2 and solution 3. Alright. So we're going to take solution 3. We've already cleaned out our pipette with distilled water. Take up enough liquid, about 1/3 fill the pipette. Finger over the edge, let the solution go, keep your finger on the end here, very important so it doesn't run out the end. Rinse that through, let it go into the waste beaker. Touching the tip of the pipette onto the side wall of the beaker to make sure that all the solution is pulled out due to the surface tension of the water. Take it all the way up above the 25 mark. Remove the filler, pop your finger over the end, touch the tip of the pipette onto the wall of the flask, make it vertical, allow it to run down till the meniscus just touches brown line. So there's always a tiny drop left in the bottom of the tip of the pipette. We never try and force it out or blow it out or rinse it out. The pipette's calibrated to have just that tiny drop left inside. Bring the volumetric flask up to about 3/4 of its level. And top it up until the meniscus just sits on the line. We can add water drop by drop. So it just sits on the meniscus. So the meniscus just sits on the line. And that's solution number 4. Solution 4, solution 3, solution 2, and solution 1. And as we can see, there's a complete range of pink colours that can be held there or be seen there. In the case of our table, apart from the first flask, all the other flasks took 25 mils and increased the volume to 250 mils. So the table of results is going to look like that. The remainder you can complete yourselves.